What's up, everybody? We're live here. All about the Birds, the fantasy and gambling show. It's Thursday night. We're about 20 minutes late tonight. What's up, Adam? Thanks for checking in as always. That's right, divisional round playoffs. We're here to break down the final big, real slate of playoff games. Next week with the championship games, it's a little smaller of a slate. And then the Super Bowl, we'll just have the single game slates and all. But we're here to break down the divisional round. We got 4 great games this weekend. As always, I'm Phil Stiefel, joined by my partner, Jason Sullivan. How you doing this weekend, Jason?
Doing good, man. I'm pumped for this weekend. Pretty good. Pretty good set of games last week, really, to be honest with you. And then I'm excited for this week, too.
I think there's 4 fantastic games this weekend, and there's a lot of creative plays when you're looking at the games and the type of players that are involved. It's going to be really hard to pick and choose, where to go. So, I'm looking forward to it and all. I know you got some, you're still questioning your stack so far for this weekend, but we know you got 2. And then I think, as for everybody's knowledge, we're going to go step by step, just break down each position and, go over the top plays in each position. And then we are going to actually look at the lines a little bit because I do actually like the lines a lot this week. So as we start every show, Jason, what are you at this moment using as your top stack?
So the first stack that I like is kind of weird. If you watch the first 2 New Orleans Tampa Bay games, you wouldn't understand why I'm going to use this stack, but I am. I feel like Tampa Bay is a different team now, so I really like Tampa Bay. It paid off for me in a huge way last week. I used the exact same stack last week, and it paid off for me big time. I'm going to stack Tom Brady 6,300 with Mike Evans, who is 6,400, Antonio Brown 5,400, and Gronk, who's 3,600. That leaves you with. I'm going to cut you off real quick. Yeah.
Gronk was a guy I stayed away from last week, and he had 0 points. But as I was looking at the line, the setup for this week, I kind of feel like he's not going to go 0 for 2 weeks in a row, especially in the playoffs. So you like Gronk this week?
I do, yeah. So I was talking about this last night, actually, on the show with Tony in Fantasy Firebox. I had my best lineup last week, had Gronk and John Brown in it. 2 zeros. Still my best lineup. So it was kind of cool at the same time, but at a little bit at the same time, a little frustrating because what could have been, I feel like.
That could have been a huge cash. Even if they each got 5-6 points each, that would take you from a big cash to, big time cash there.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that stack this week. Like you said, I don't think Gronk's going to get shut out again this week. And I feel like this is kind of a way to differentiate in terms of when there's only 4 games. There's not 11 or 12 games to pick from. So you're going to have to kind of differentiate yourself somehow. And I feel like a good way to do that is to kind of expand your stacks a little bit.
Okay. I got you on that. No, I love it. I actually think the problem last week for me with the Brady stack is you said Gronk, 0. I put way too many low level or low point scoring guys with Brady. I had Brady and Brown and Gronk in 2 or 3 lineups last week, and Brady and Brown did really well, but the rest of the team I put around them just was awful. All right, so what do you got as number 2 then on your stack list then this week?
So this is kind of a little bit of a wild one.
Wild.
I love the
We're getting crazy here.
I love the Kansas City game, but I don't think you can stack Mahomes with Kelsey and Hill. So I'm gonna try to do the best of both worlds. I'm gonna play Baker Mayfield 5,300 with Jarvis Landry 5,600 and Austin Hooper, he's 3,800. I'm gonna come back with. I haven't decided if I'm gonna come back with just Hill, who's 8,000, or Hill and Kelsey.
Wow.
So that's kind of a strange one. I know it's kind of
I mean, out of all of them, I mean, what is one thing we always do on the regular season? We talk about the lower ranked defenses, and the Chiefs. I mean, they've got a good defense, but are they really that great of a defense? Have they really stopped, big offenses many times this year? I don't know.
Well, and fantasy is a lot different than real football. I mean, Roethlisberger had a huge week last week in fantasy, but if you watch the game, the Steelers were god awful. So so even
I wish I had Roethlisberger last week.
Right, I did, which was good for me. But at the same time, it's like Cleveland might get blown out in this game. They might lose by 20 or 30, but if they score 28, 30, somewhere around there, I mean that's huge for Baker. I mean, so I like him.
You can also look at it from the betting side of things. I mean, the over-under in that Browns-Chiefs game is right now on FanDuel at 57. It's by far the highest over-under this weekend, and the Browns are a 10-point dog. So they're expecting – I mean, when you have a 57 over-under, if you're going to bet the over, you better hope for a 35-30, 40, 21 type game, which means either way, whoever you stack there, you're going to get a lot of fantasy points coming out of that game.
Yeah, for sure. And Baker's going to have to air it out. Whether he's good or bad, he's going to have to air it out. So I like that, especially 5,300. That's super cheap.
That is.
Because there's I don't know. We'll talk about this a little bit later on, but there's a lot of factors that go into these other games that make me a little bit scared to go with those stacks. So I actually really like that stack this game.
No, I mean, it wasn't the first thing I thought about. The first 2 things I thought about stacking this week was Tampa Bay and then again Buffalo because, you were super high on Josh Allen last week. I mean, we've got your 2 stacks. I mean, let's just start breaking down quarterbacks. Where are you on Josh Allen this week and the Buffalo Bills?
I love the Buffalo Bills. I love watching them play. They're just like one of those teams that I just enjoy watching play. However, it's supposed to snow 1 to 3 inches and be freezing in Buffalo. So this might bite me in the butt, but I'm probably gonna stay away from Buffalo this week. I think he'll still be really highly owned, and I might try to sneak in some Diggs. So I won't necessarily have Allen, I don't think, but I might sneak Diggs in there because if they do blow up, I really like that. And I also like Cole Beasley a lot. Baltimore is terrible. I mean, their strength of their defense is the edges. They're really terrible across the middle. So Beasley might, I could see him easily catching, 9-10 balls.
That's possible. Yeah, the one game that Josh Allen played against the Eagles, I'm not sure if it was last year or 2 years ago, was a really cold, windy game, and Josh Allen just did not. For a guy that plays in Buffalo every week, you would think he'd be more adjusted to handling, that inclement weather. But that was the only game I remember watching him in that kind of weather. But he did not perform really well in that, situation.
Well, and that game scares me in general because I was listening to another podcast right before we got on there, and they were talking about just the weather and the quarterbacks in general. Lamar Jackson's only played in 3 games in his career where he's been the underdog, and he's been awful in all 3. And he's never played in snow before. So in the NFL at least. So that's it'll be
interesting information there.
If that takes away his running ability, I mean, if it's real slick and it takes away his running ability, do you want any part of Lamar Jackson? Because I don't.
No. That all signs now after hearing you talk there. I mean, we could talk about the rest of that. We could talk about Lamar, the running backs, or whatever from that game. That kind of makes me want to stay away from it instantly and almost jump over. Right now, the over/under is 49.5 in that game. Maybe just jump right on that as an under. I know we're not supposed to bet the under. Life's too short. Shout out to Josh, on that one there. Shout out to that there. But, maybe you jump over that and, lay a couple pennies on the under there in that one. Let's look at the rest of the quarterbacks. So we touched on Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield. obviously you got Patrick Mahomes, number one costing quarterback. He's obviously going to put up points against Cleveland. But again, at 8,000 with a small slate like this, it's tough to look at him. You got Aaron Rodgers, you got Drew Brees, and you got Jared Goff. They're your other quarterbacks. Thoughts on any of them specifically?
I have thoughts on all of them, actually. To be honest,
I know you do. Give me thoughts on one, and then we'll move to the next.
Yeah. So let's talk. We'll talk Packers.
Quarterback's the sexy position. Everybody. I mean, I never start my lineup with the quarterback. I start bottom. I start defense. I start tight end if it's not part of my stack, and then I see where I can stack my quarterbacks and all. But everyone normally just jumps right on Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or the big name quarterbacks and on. I think it's not necessarily always the smart way to go. So, but you got to talk quarterback because everybody loves quarterbacks.
Right. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes, he's the best play. If you can figure out a way to play Mahomes, you should do that. But I think you're going to have to do – I mean, with that salary, you're probably going to have to look elsewhere. I want to talk about the Packers and the Rams game. So I originally thought that the Rams might actually upset the Packers, and then I started digging into it a little bit more, and the Rams' offense is god-awful right now. I mean, Cam Akers has been good, but Jared Goff has been really bad. The Rams' offense, of their last 45 possessions, have only scored 4 touchdowns. That's really bad.
No, Jared Goff is playing with a busted finger of some kind. So it's definitely not necessarily all on him. Cooper Kupp's been injured with a bad knee and stuff like that. Yep. So I mean, Cam Akers on the flip side, performed fantastic last week, as a running back.
Yeah.
But so
he's underpriced again this week too. Cam Akers, I think, is 5,700 this week. That's a really good price for him.
He is 5,700. That's
5,700. Yeah, that's super low for him.
Green Bay does not stop the run very well either. So they're definitely
29 carries last week. I mean, that's huge. And Goff,
I'm surprised he didn't have more than 29 carries last week because you had their quarterback went down. Jared Goff barely could throw a ball. This week, if something happens with Jared Goff, you're going to have Blake Bortles out there throwing the ball. Cool. So Cam Akers is in line for a huge usage rate this week. But also, I think he's going to have a high.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you saw last week. Goff was on the sideline in the second half, and he was kind of going like this with his 2 thumbs. His hurt thumb was like twice as big as the other thumb. So he's not healthy at all. So
no. But thinking about that game then on the Rams aspect of it, then can you play Cam Akers at 5,700? Because to me that just screams everybody taking him. I feel like he's a 30-40% owned type guy, if not more than that.
Yeah, probably more than that, actually, to be honest with you. I almost feel like you have to, though. At that price, if he was 8,000, I would say no. But the fact that he's under 6, I would say almost yes. You almost have to play him, I feel like. He's going to get 25 touches of some sort. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, looking at the other side of that game, then Green Bay, you got Aaron Rodgers, MVP favorite, probably in my opinion. You got Devontae Adams, probably the best wide receiver in the game right now, or at least is playing like that, going up against Jalen Ramsey, who shut down DK Metcalf last week again. And you got Aaron Jones. They're your top 3 Packers plays normally. Rams have a great defense. Does that great defense scare you away from them?
It scares me away a little bit from Devontae Adams, to be honest with you. And I know that he's the best receiver and he's been so consistent this year, but I don't know at 80, I think it's 85 or 8,600. I don't know if I want to play him. Yeah, that's a lot. I don't know if I want to play him against Ramsey at that price. And then the problem is, if I'm not stacking Rodgers with Adams, I don't really like Rodgers' other weapons all that much. Tanyan's okay, but I don't really like them as much. I like Aaron Jones in this game, to be honest with you. I think it might be, especially if it's real cold there, which I think it's supposed to be under 25, they said. So I don't hate Aaron Jones this week at all. I know he's kind of been underwhelming lately, but I don't mind him.
Yeah, I haven't done the research on it. I'd be curious to see what the rest of the cornerbacks of the Rams are like. So when DK Metcalf got locked up by Jalen Ramsey, what did the other wide receivers? How did they perform? And average compared to their season, above average or still below average as well. What's up, Johnny? I agree with you though. Aaron Jones. I mean, I could easily see myself putting Aaron Jones and Cam Akers in a lot of lineups this week.
Yeah, that's always the Cardinals' sin. They always tell you not to do that because you're kind of going against each other. But I almost feel like you have to, especially when the other high-priced running back is Kamara. He's going against Tampa Bay. I don't have any confidence in Kamara this week. So,
Well, I was going to bring that up. You got the Tampa versus New Orleans game, and we could talk about Drew Brees and Michael Thomas and all them. But the interesting thing that I was looking at before we got, Johnny brings up Troy Hill is a pretty good as well. Taysom Hill and Latavius Murray, both questionable, and there's a good chance one, if not both of those guys, don't play this week. A lot of the other questionables, the Mike Evans, the Chris Godwins, they're all trending to play. Cooper Kupp, trending to play. It's looking like Taysom Hill, Latavius Murray, at least one, if not two of them, aren't going to play this week. So how does that affect the value of Kamara, Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, and all the other guys on that team? I know Tony loves Traquan Smith all the time. He's always pumping him up, week in and week out, that's going to be one of his sleeper plays. So where do you stand if those guys sit? Does that hurt or help their value?
It almost feels like if those guys sit, it pretty much the value is going to be on Michael Thomas and Kamara. The only thing is Tampa Bay is so good at stopping the run that I'm not sure if I have confidence in Kamara at 80. I think he's 8,500. I have a lot more confidence in Michael Thomas this week. I feel like since he's been healthier, he's looked really good. He's looked kind of like the Michael Thomas from last year. So I like him a lot. I think he's 6,900. That's cheap for Michael Thomas, I think. So I really like that. I'm scared of Brees all the way around. I don't know how you feel, but he just cannot throw the ball down the field anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we've got what? This is our last week of having like big time, money games available. Next week you got 2-game slate, and then after that you got the Super Bowl, which is we hate single game slates. I'm going to spend a lot of my money on the prop bets on Super Bowl Sunday, not on fantasy lineups. I kind of feel like you have to go with your big dogs this week. Not Drew Brees. You got to stay away from the big defenses and go with the big dogs. You got to look at Tom Brady as your number one play, as you said. Baker Mayfield going against the Chiefs, and find a way to get Patrick Mahomes. Drew Brees going up against Tampa's defense. I cannot justify Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers this week, in my opinion.
No, I feel the same exact way. And like you said, you can't miss that quarterback. I mean, I played 4 lineups last week, 4 GBP lineups last week. The only lineup I didn't cash was my Brees. I had Brees, Thomas, and Kamara stack, and I didn't cash in that one. Brees ceiling, he's going to get you 16, 17 points. Yeah. His floor could be 10 points. Your quarterback puts up 10 points, you're screwed. You're not going to make money. So
absolutely. I absolutely agree with you on that 110% there.
Do you think Drew Brees is done if they don't win?
I think if they win or lose, Drew Brees is done. I think this is his last run. I think Brady goes on for 1 or 2 more years. Ben Roethlisberger, I'm kind of in the middle on, but I think Drew Brees, out of all the older guys, the older generation of quarterbacks, he's the most likely, in my opinion, he is completely done. Yeah. And I think Johnny's agreeing with me on that. He said, yup. I'm assuming that is to what I just said there. I think he's ready to hang it up, spend time at home, take that cushy Tony Romo job in the booth, calling a game a week, doing no work for millions of dollars. I think he's ready to hang it up. And I think he was on the borderline. And then that injury he had this year, I really think, at his age, you take a hit like that. You take a hit where you got 11 cracked ribs and, everything else, done, punctured lungs, lacerated spleens, whatever it was, holes in your heart, whatever. I don't know. There's so many things wrong with him there. I think he's ready to hang him up for sure. Do you agree there? Or?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think 100%. It kind of reminds me of Peyton Manning as last year. I know they won the Super Bowl. Denver did that last year, but if you remember, Peyton couldn't throw the ball at all that last year. And it was almost like it was time because it had to be time. And I feel like that's almost the way it is with Brees.
Johnny says, they'll go with Taysom Hill and maybe bring back Teddy Bridgewater as, the second quarterback option. I don't know. I think New Orleans, if Brees retires, like we agree, I think they're in some real trouble next year at quarterback for sure.
Yeah.
Unless they go out and make some crazy move to bring in a real legit quarterback. Bridgewater's not the answer. Jameis Winston's not the answer.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, what's going to happen to me when I go through a table? Yeah, have you seen that bet that we got going?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For those watching this that don't watch the All About the Birds Wednesday show, Johnny picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl this year. So I told him later a few weeks ago that if the Bills win the Super Bowl, they can put me through a table like Bills Mafia, and I'm totally regretting that 100% every single passing week right now because I know they'll love that, and I have no tolerance for pain whatsoever.
You're getting old too. You just turned 4-0. I mean,
I'm the oldest of all the All About the Bird team members here, above and beyond. So it's worrying me big time. All right, so I think we've covered all the quarterbacks, right? Goff, we covered I think we've covered them all there. So looking back at running backs real quick, we've covered most of them. What do you got with the Chubb, Kareem Hunt look? Kareem Hunt had some scores last week, but that was Adam checking in with the Dudley 3D. Yeah, if you know wrestling, you know what a 3D is. If you don't, Google it. That's what's going to happen to me basically if the Bills win the Super Bowl. So
I was going to say it's not good for you. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, it's definitely not good for me. So obviously Kareem Hunt had some touchdowns last week against a really awful Pittsburgh defense. At least they performed poorly last week. Is there a chance that he does it again at 4,800 this week, or are you leaning more towards Nick Chubb in that game as the more productive guy fantasy wise?
I like Chubb better, but then the flip side of that tells me that they're probably going to get blown out. So Chubb might not be on the field. It might be Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's a lot cheaper too. I don't know. I don't love
4,800. You can't. I mean, It's very intriguing to me at 4,800 there, Kareem Hunt.
That price is really good for him. I'd probably go Hunt if I was going to pick either one of them, but I'm probably not going to play either one of them, to be honest with you. Which way would you go?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where my stack is going. If I'm trying to find a way to get Hill and Kelsey or Hill and Mahomes into a lineup and I need a cheap running back, that's going to be the first cheap running back I look at. And there's a couple more cheap running backs we're going to talk about in a second here. But if you're going to try to stock the big guys, the big guns this week, you got to find cheap value at running back. It depends on where I'm going at quarterback and wide receiver, whether I go Hunt or Chubb. But I kind of have a feeling that I'm going to get suckered into playing one or the other this week. I know you say you're staying away from them, but I always get suckered into playing Nick Chubb way too often.
So do I. His price is appealing
he's
too.
A great running back. He's great, but I get suckered into it when I know I shouldn't. So
yeah, his price is great too. Okay, so I'm going to segue into the next running back that I was thinking about, Devin Singletary. What are your thoughts on him? Because you go first, and then I'll let you know.
Again, I want Buffalo to lose, so hopefully he does awful. I don't know. I mean, he's one of those guys that has so confused us. He's got so much talent, and he literally lets you down in every big game. But also on the flip side, they don't give him enough touches consistently. What do you have, like 3 or 4 rushes last week?
Right. And this week they don't have anyone else this week, so it's going to be him.
So double-digit points in fantasy since week 15, and he's only scored double-digit twice since week 13 in fantasy. So how can you trust a guy like that? But again, you bring up the weather issue. Zach Moss is out. They're going to have to give him the ball 15, 20, 25 times. I don't know. There's one that I'm scared of. I'll be more happy playing Kareem Hunt than Devin Singletary.
That's what I think too. It's going to be one of those situations where it's either going to win you money or lose you money if you play Singletary. I feel like
he's either going to score. He's going to score 3 points or 25 points this week.
Yeah. I've never gotten him right ever. So I'm out. I don't think I'm going to play him just because I don't have confidence in myself for making that judgment. So
Well, that wasn't actually where I was going to segue into with running backs. Oh. Because there's 2 questionable running backs that are trending not to play. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who still hasn't practiced with the Chiefs, and you got Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones sat last week, obviously. Leonard Fournette got the touchdowns. What's up, Kyle? Big up spot, man, Kyle. I'm always thinking of you, bro. Hope everything's going well there for you. Edwards-Helaire or Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette got the touchdowns last week. LaShawn McCoy is going to be active and dressed this week if Ronald Jones sits, they said. I'm staying away from all running backs in that game personally because I can't trust Fournette to get the touchdowns. But again, he's a cheap option. And then again, I was looking at a single game slate, and LaShawn McCoy's $200 in a single game slate. I mean, it totally just like suckered me in. It's like, for $200, if he catches 3 passes out of the backfield, if that's a high shootout, I mean, you've already made your money and then some. So where do you look at with the Kansas City and Tampa backfield situation, which is a total mess with their top guys sitting down?
Out of those 2 games, I'd probably lean Le'Veon Bell. I don't like any of them. Yeah, they did sign Devontae Freeman. I saw that too the other day.
It's kind of like I don't know. I don't like that they could sign a guy at the end of the year.
Well, that and the fact that he played for the Giants and he sucked this year, so I don't have any faith in him. I don't know.
They signed him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would go Bell if I was going to go any of them, just at the hope that Kansas City scores a bunch of points and he gets a couple goal line touches. But I don't
Yeah.
have faith in any of them. I love Ronald Jones if he plays, but that was a weird situation last week too. I had a little bit of him too, and he said he got hurt in warmups, I guess, and they didn't say it till the game started, so that kind of sucked.
I mean, here's the official on him. He limited practice on Thursday, but given what happened last week, it doesn't seem like he's going to play, barring any development. Yeah, it looks like they're focused on Leonard Fournette, LaShawn McCoy, and what's the other running back that dressed last week? What's their other running back? He had a fumble last week, and then he didn't see the field again the rest of the game, I think.
I don't remember.
Where is he? I'll go down the list here. I'm sure he'll be on here somewhere. Maybe not. Hold on. I gotta. Where is it here? Kate Vaughn.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Keyshawn Vaughn. There he is. He had five.
I don't really have any
5 rushes for 21 yards and a fumble. That was his whole game. He had 1.1 points. He was actually going into the game once Ronald Jones was out. He was the one that was getting was supposed to get the most of the touches. Here we go. Johnny Ulecka, Vaughn. And because he had Google in front of him, we weren't looking from Vanderbilt, Only Johnny would know that. I'm staying away from running backs in Kansas City and in Tampa for sure. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. I'm looking at the rest of the running back list. I think there's nothing else to – I mean, I guess you could talk about the Ravens running backs. You got J.K. Dobbins, who seems to be slightly squeaking ahead as the lead running back there. But Gus Edwards, you got, also there. Again, it's another game I'm staying away from running back-wise, I think. You don't know where the touches are going.
That's the problem, is that J.K. Dobbins is the better back, but then Gus Edwards comes in and vultures him at the goal line. So it's like it kind of limits both their value. I don't know. I played Dobbins last week, and I think he had 15, which was good. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but
J.K. Dobbins is your fourth highest cost running back this week at $6,000. I know $6,000 is not a lot, but when it's your fourth most expensive, guy, I mean, you'd hope he got 10 points in fantasy last week.
Yeah.
So is it really worth spending $6,000 for 10 points?
Well, and he was massive chalk too. I think in the contest I was playing in, I was looking at it. He was like 52% owned in the contest I played in.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, no, I'm staying away from there. I think running back wise, I think we're under agreement on all of them. All right, so wide receivers.
Like you could play chalk running backs this week. I feel like play chalk running backs differentiate other places.
Okay. So all right. So wide receivers, we've talked about Devontae Adams. Stay away from him with Jalen Ramsey is just obviously playing. He's the best cornerback in football, but not only is he the best, but he is playing out of his mind as well right now. I mean, he is shutting down everybody. And I don't know if you noticed it. I mean, I was delivering last week during the game, so I heard it on the radio. But supposedly, like, he called him out, like, yo, stop moving. He wanted to follow DK Metcalf. They were trying to keep him on one side of the field and move DK away from him. And he's like, no, guys. And he just stayed locked down on DK.
Mm-hmm.
I love the confidence of Jalen Ramsey. And, there was a slim rumor years ago that he was going to come to the Eagles. And I wish the Eagles would have given up every penny for him because that's lockdown quarterback.
Yeah, that's the best case scenario. Good corners and a defense that puts pressure on the quarterback. Like, that's the best case scenario. So, yeah, I don't like anybody against the Rams right now, to be honest with you.
You can't. You can't. But, we've talked about the big guys, Adams, Tyreek Hill, Diggs. You're going to try to squeeze him in maybe. We've talked about Tampa. You love Evans and Brown. So you love Evans and Brown. So you're staying away from Godwin this week? Any reason why you picked Evans and Brown over Godwin?
Godwin is probably the most consistent of the three, but I like Evans for his touchdown ability. And I think, honestly, Antonio Brown's been the best receiver on that team. I'm trying to see what he put up last. He has been a monster lately. I've been playing him.
Johnny knows. I've been talking about AB84 coming to the Eagles for a whole year now, and everybody told me I was nuts because he was going to just ruin whatever team he was on.
Hey, Johnny, Antonio Brown from Central Michigan University. Boom. I know that one.
Just because it's a Michigan school. That's the only reason why you know
That's right.
that, right?
Yeah, he had 15 points last week, 39 the week before. I mean, he's been solid. So,
yeah, I love Antonio Brown. If I only was going to play one wide receiver from the Bucs this week, it would be Antonio Brown, and not just because I'm a big Antonio Brown fan,
right.
Just because I think he gets pretty close to the most targets. What's the target like compared? Last week he
Last week only 3, but then 15 the week before that.
Yeah,
so I mean,
6, 7,
and he's 54. He's only 5,400. That's the biggest thing. So
yeah, that's great value there.
Yeah, that's the best. The best, I would say, the most mispriced wide receiver is him. So play Antonio Brown.
Johnny checked in late with Cole Beasley. We already said we love Cole Beasley with the bad weather this week. Those short yardage slot guys that do bubble screens, they're great in bad weather because you're not going to be able to throw the ball deep, as often. So yeah, Cole Beasley is a good play.
He came into the game dinged up last week. He was questionable and he still had 7 catches. So he only had 54 yards, but it was the Greg Ward kind of game. But still, I mean,
good old Greg Ward. What about Marquise Brown?
He's been consistent too.
9 targets last week.
Yeah.
But again, we're going into bad weather this week. But he's a guy that could get those short passes and turn the Jets on. So, I mean, I know, going up against a tough defense in Buffalo, but, if Lamar's going to pass the ball, it's going to be short, right? So, just the same reason as Cole Beasley. What do you think of Brown?
I like Brown too. 5,200 again. I feel like you're right. It is going to snow, but $5,200 is like good luck finding a game breaker like him at that price. I feel like so. Yeah, I think he's worth a play for sure. And like ever since he complained about getting his lack of targets, he's gotten a ton of targets. I mean, I can't stand the guy, but I play him every single week in fantasy. I'll be honest.
I did not know you played him every single week. I'm going to mentally note that one down there.
I should say I play him every week since probably week 11 or 12.
Okay. Yeah.
So once he complained about his targets, I started playing him.
Wide receivers are divas. So, you got to call the quarterback out when you can. What any other there? I mean, there's a lot of names, down here at the bottom in the 48 and below, John Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Higgins, a name everybody's talking about a lot lately, Gabriel Davis. You got, the backup or the second and third guy in Green Bay, Lazard and, Valdez-Scantling. Any of these names down at the bottom here, Scotty Miller, any of these names do anything for you? Because I always love to find, Johnny says Gabriel Davis. I'm sure he knows where he went to school. Yeah. Uncle Google will solve that question if he doesn't know.
Google. No, I was actually going to say Gabriel.
I call it Uncle Google all the time,
Gabriel Davis is my pick from down there too. I don't like a lot of guys down there. John Brown's a good one too. I don't think he's going to put up another 0. I don't even know how he did that last week. It's kind of crazy. But I like both those guys, to be honest with you. I would probably lean Davis.
Okay.
Yeah,
of course, right? Yeah. I'm not sure. I love to find that $3,800 to $4,200 wide receiver. It gives you so much flexibility with the rest of your lineup. But honestly, I mean, Davis, if it wasn't bad weather, I would be leaning that way. But the rest of the guys do nothing for me. I'd rather spend less money on my running backs and go higher on my wide receivers this week.
I don't think you need to go down too low. Maybe, you could sneak one of those guys in there, but you don't need to go crazy. I know Rashad Higgins from Cleveland, he's always super popular. He hasn't really been that good over the last 3 games. So I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a chalky play that isn't really worth it. So I'd stay away from him.
Last week he had 4.8 points. The week before that, 7.5. The week before that, 11.6, and that was against the Giants. So
that's not really that impressive.
No, it's not impressive at all. Not at all. I'm going to stay away from the low guy. I think if anybody, the lowest ranked wide receiver I'd even consider is, as Kyle says, John Brown. But even that, I'm going to probably stay away from there. I can't find enough value there. All right, so tight ends.
I agree with you.
We don't need to talk a lot of tight ends. We both agree Gronk's not going to go 0 for again. If anything, I could see Gronk having a huge game. But honestly, Tony sent, what's up, Mike? Thanks for checking in. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, if you're debating between somebody, we're the guys to answer those questions for you. Adam checking in, Sixers won. That's right. Go Sixers. I'm glad they won. They got most of their team back, and they faced a Heat team tonight that pretty much had 90% of their roster out to COVID. And the only reason was because the Sixers are in it, because the Sixers can't have a game postponed. It's against the rules.
Really?
Yeah, it's against the rules. You didn't know that? It's literally in the rule book. You can cancel any game as long as it doesn't involve the Sixers.
As long as it's not the Sixers. Got it.
Well, if you don't pay attention, we're gonna get it. We'll get back to tight ends in a second. When the Sixers had their first COVID case like a week and a half ago, the Sixers only had 7 guys, and you're not allowed to dress or play if you have 7 guys. The
Right.
Sixers
You have to have
were
8.
forced. The Sixers were forced to dress one of their injured guys, Mike Scott, who couldn't play. They
Jeez.
dressed him knowing he could not play to get to 8. Why? All these other games are getting canceled 2-3 weeks in advance, but whatever, Yeah.
Well, I hope Embiid did good today because I put him in my DraftKings lineup.
Before we went on the air, he had like 8 points in the middle of the third quarter total. So he was definitely having an off human night tonight.
Of course.
Of course. Well, we'll get
If you
into that.
ever
I want to talk to you about fantasy basketball, eventually.
Listen,
I can't win in
if you ever
fantasy.
need go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I can't win in fantasy basketball. I've cashed once. It was in the Heat Ratio League. If anybody watching wants to join the Heat Ratio, Tony Cotillo's, fantasy league, send one of us a private message. We'll get you invited into the league. The one cash, I finished third place once in that. Outside of that, I haven't cashed once yet this year in fantasy basketball. So I'm totally lost on fantasy basketball this year. My normal strategy is not working at all.
Well, along the lines of basketball, if you ever need a guy to suck, just tell me. I'll put him in my lineup because guaranteed he'll suck. Whether it's Luka, Harden, it doesn't matter. They'll suck.
I had Luka last night, and he had like 78 points, and I still didn't cash. Still did not catch last night.
So much for his slow start. Anyways.
We'll touch on it's a fantasy and gambling show. It doesn't say only football. It's a fantasy and gambling show. We'll get back to basketball in a second. Let's wrap up football real quick. Tight ends. You got Travis Kelce. Obviously, he's a huge cost at 7,800. You got Andrews. You got Tanyan. You got Cook and Cooper and Gronk. Outside of that, maybe Dawson Knox, maybe, but with the weather, no. There's really not much to do here in tight ends. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 guys I'd even remotely consider.
Yeah, I think I'm paying down this weekend at tight end. I like Knox, like you said, even though it's bad weather. He still had 8 targets last week, so I like that. Cameron Braid's kind of a sneaky one, too. 2,900, he had 8 targets last week, too. So, I don't hate it.
He got 8 targets, Gronk didn't.
Right.
If you like Gronk, you can't like Braid, in my opinion, right?
No,
so it's
I hear
one
you.
or the other.
Right, no, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like in cash, play Kelce. In GPPs, just pay down. That's the best option.
Yeah, I'm looking at Gronk, at 3,600 as probably my main play. Maybe even Higbee a little bit, but outside of that, I'm sticking to Gronk. I'm sticking to Knox, and that's about it there.
Yeah, just pay down and hope for a touchdown.
Exactly. All right, let's just touch on defense for a second. I always play the low, cheap defenses. The Rams are the second cheapest defense this week. And I feel like I'm going to play the Rams in almost every single one of my lineups this week. Or should I not because everybody's going to be playing the Rams?
No, I think it's fine. I like the Rams and the Ravens are my 2 defenses. I feel like the Ravens have kind of been sneaky good on defense. And I know Buffalo's been playing really well. But if that game's going to be crappy weather, 2,800, I mean, yeah, the Ravens are 2,800 and the Rams are 2,600. So I don't really care if they're chalk. I'm going to play those defenses.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that 100%. We got Adam checking in, and Beeb ended with 9 points. Simmons had 10. Wow.
How do you score 126 points and your best player has 9 points?
Well, it's because we're good. Everybody's back. I think we're missing only one guy, Seth Curry. He's the only one missing from COVID still, and everybody else is healthy on our team now. We won the Harden trade by not making a trade. Tony will disagree. Well, 25 times out of 25. But we won that trade by not making that trade.
See, I felt like if it was just draft picks and Simmons, you do it. But I don't give up Maxey. No chance I give up Maxey. And that's what they said. Morey said that too. He didn't want to give up Maxey.
Tobias is my man. I get bashed. I've been blocked by multiple big name people because I support Tobias Harris.
That's right.
It's I don't know why I get blocked for liking Tobias Harris and thinking he's a good player. Maxey on that. We're gonna wrap up football in 1 second. We can talk more basketball. But Maxey, if Maxey was the key, if you really thought Harden won you a title here in Philly, I was not going to stop the trade because of Maxey. And I know I am getting a lot of crap for that. Maxey is a rookie. He's had a couple good games, but he's had a couple good games when 90% of the team was out because of COVID. Right. Bad teams always have guys that put up stats. Bad teams always have guys that throw numbers out there. And I'm not saying Maxey's not going to be a superstar, but Maxey has just as much of a chance of being a superstar as he does of being a 8th guy on a team. So if you thought James Harden was going to win you a title, I would have been willing to give up Maxey. Problem is, I don't think James Harden paired with Joel Embiid get you a title. So that's the thing. I'm just not a fan of James Harden's game and his record in the playoffs.
Well, and he went to Brooklyn. I don't know. I feel like obviously on paper it looks good. I don't feel like that makes sense in like real basketball.
It doesn't look good. Who's their bench?
Right, and you have 3 guys who need the ball, who need the offense to go through them. They need the ball all the time.
5 guys, because one guy hasn't shown up in a week.
Correct. You have 2 guys in a nut job. So, but anyways, all 3 of those guys need the ball. Need the offense to go through them and need the ball all the time. So I don't know how that's going to work out.
Michael, I don't know this Michael guy, but I like him. He's agreeing with my take. I like him already. You got to check in.
That was a very convincing take. I'll give you that. That was really convincing. I agree with you on that one.
Whether I know what I'm talking about or not, I'm very convincing when I talk.
That was convincing.
It sounds like I know what I'm talking about. So it is what it is. All right, real quick, let's just go on the lines for this weekend. Before we can talk a little bit more basketball here. The Rams plus 6.5, Packers minus 6.5, over unders 45.5. Do you have any thoughts on that game on the line?
I would go with the Rams, and I would go the under in that game. I think it's going to be ugly.
We are going to agree on that 100. I don't think the Rams win. I think the Packers win a close one there. But I'll have to check the weather and stuff like that before I pick that game. But I think that game's a close game. I think it's a 3 or 4 point game. And there's a chance that the Rams can't score more than 14 or 15 points in that game.
Right.
So you could definitely take the under there and feel comfortable. Again, I'm looking at FanDuel Sportsbook for anybody that's watching right now. So if you're looking elsewhere, lines may be a little different. But the Ravens are 2.5 point dogs. Bills are the favorite in that game. It's 49.5. I think we've both already agreed the under on the 49.5, right?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
And at 2.5 points, that's basically almost a pick 'em. So who wins the game then?
For me, Baltimore.
Thank you. That means no 3D through a table for me.
What are you going with?
I can't agree. I have the Bills winning that game. I think the Bills just are too talented. Even with bad enough weather, they have enough talent on offense to score a few more points than Baltimore there. And I don't buy Lamar Jackson as a playoff quarterback. I didn't see enough last week either. I know he played well last week, but there were little plays here and there throughout the game that I was making mental notes. I was just like, a great quarterback does not make those mistakes. So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. The only thing that worries me about Buffalo right now is they had their hands full with Indy. I don't think Indy's that good. So I don't know. I know Jonathan Taylor's good, but I'm not sure.
You underestimate Indy. Indy's a really good team. Well coached. They got a great running back. A really solid defense. Adam checking in 33-17. Packers win. Bills 24-21 on the Ravens. See, I can agree with you on the Bills-Ravens score probably. I don't know if the Packers game goes that high in the score. That's 50 points. I don't think it goes that high. The Rams defense is just too good to give up 33 points in my opinion. Let's see, where am I here on my numbers here? Browns are 10-point dogs to the Chiefs. Over under is 57. I hate numbers that are over 54.5 in over under.
57 is huge. Yeah.
But I kind of want to take the over in it.
Yeah, my first.
I don't make my bets till Saturday. Well, when the games are Sunday, I don't make my bets till Saturday. If I'm gonna do a parlay on all 4 games, I'm sure. But so I'll have to make my decision by Friday night, early Saturday morning. But if I'm picking anything, I might take the over in that game.
Yeah, I would say the over too. Check the weather in that one too. If it's crappy weather, be careful. Yeah, I think I like the Chiefs and the over in that game, to be honest with you. I think the Chiefs are going to kill them. So,
unfortunately, DraftKings doesn't give much information on weather on their sheet. That's all I got up right now. They got partly cloudy. That's all is the weather. So I don't know if it's going to be cold or whatnot. Kansas City in the middle of the winter. It's pretty cold normally. And then final game, the Bucs are 3-point dogs on the road to the Saints. Over-unders at 52 right now in FanDuel. I love the Bucs. They're the one team that if I have to put all my money on one underdog covering this week, the Bucs covering are the team I think that has the highest chance of covering this week.
I agree with you. I think the Bucs win. So yeah,
so do I. I think they win outright. For anybody watching that knows what outright means. No, they win. And I don't know. The over-under 52, I think that's really close. It could be 50, 52, 53, somewhere in there. I stay away from that. The over-unders are tough for me. But I really do like the Bucks covering there and winning outright for sure. I might even mess around with an alternate spread on that and make the Bucks a favorite on a parlay there to increase my odds. Is that a stupid idea right there?
I don't really know what that means, so I'm going to go with.
So on FanDuel, well, you can't use FanDuel Sportsbook out there. I don't know what betting apps are available in the states that don't have legal sports betting. On FanDuel, you can go to under the game and you can change the spread, and it changes the odds. So if if an underdog, you change them to the favorite, obviously you're getting better odds. So gotcha. a lot of my parlays have alternate spreads and alternate over-unders on them always.
Cool.
So,
I like that.
It changes the odds one way or the other, but I do love them. Adam, so we already heard Adam's, picks on the early games. Now he's going Chiefs 34, Browns 31.
Whoa, close one.
And the Browns. I actually don't mind that parlay right there. If you're going to do a single game parlay, go the over in the Browns. It's intriguing to me. Bucks 24, Saints 20, or Bucks 27, Saints 24. I like that one too.
I like that one too.
I like his Sunday picks better than his Saturday picks for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on football? We're going to touch on basketball for a second before we wrap this show up. Since we're only at 45 minutes, we might as well talk basketball for a few minutes.
Yeah, no more football. Let's
that's it. We're going to break everybody's heart. This is the end of the fantasy and gambling football show. Not forever. We'll be back next year. There's just not enough to talk about to do a whole show around next Thursday. But it doesn't mean the me and Jason hour is over. We're going to be back next week, but on Monday with the Fairway to Heaven golf show. We're going to talk golf fantasy. We're both huge fans of golf. We're going to talk whatever tournament is going on each week, starting at 9:00 on Mondays, starting next week. We might just dabble in a little bit of football just for the next 2 weeks, just to wrap up the football season. But for the most part, we are going to be moving to Monday nights at 9 on the Heat Ratio Network, talking fantasy golf, gambling golf. We're going to have guests. I'm already looking at different guests to bring on the show. We're both passionate about golf. I still got my green jacket sitting right here, ready to go.
Listen, too, you can find us on the Heat Ratio Network, but we're also going to share everything on this network as well.
Yeah,
so
we'll be on the
you'll be able to find it.
Network, my pages, your pages, all that stuff. How'd you guys do with golf last week? I did not cash last week. I was cashing through Saturday, and then I bombed on Sunday and fell out of the money. How'd you do?
Well, first off, I did zero research for the week, which is lazy on my part. But I was too excited about football, so I put in $20 and I won $30. So
that's good.
Whatever.
I put in
still a win.
$1 last week because I hate the small fields. What was there? 40 some guys in the field last week.
40.
Yeah, I hate those small fields. I put in because I wasn't doing any research. I did $1 lineup, and that was it. So losing that $1 didn't really break my bank last week. But last year during fantasy golf season, I was writing a regular article, Adam, for Last Out Media, and I cashed every single week last year. And I had several weeks that were 7-8 times, return on my money. So, and Jason, I know nothing. If I had that good results, based off what Jason knows and what some of these other guests we're going to have on here, I'm sure Chris Ebom, he'll be back on a few times for us as well. We're going to make some money. People don't realize how much money you can make in fantasy golf. Am I right in that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like it was kind of a niche sport, and it's turned into a really huge thing. I feel like Chris was one of the guys today. He was tweeting about golf all day. That's the one thing about golf versus football. Golf coverage on TV sucks.
Absolutely.
But you don't necessarily.
It's awful.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to watch. I mean, I'll watch like maybe 1 or 2 rounds each tournament, but it's fun to gamble on. It's fun to play DraftKings every single week. And the cool part is that you set your lineups on Wednesday night, and then you have basically a 4-day sweat. It's not just a quick sweat; it's 4 days. So it's golf is really cool.
And just because you're in the money, there's been plenty of times I've been in first or second place after Thursday, and then I don't cash on Sunday.
Yeah,
because so much can change over 4 days. Whether it's the weather, a guy just gets a kick. I mean, based off of how my swing changes over 3 holes, a golfer, changes over 4 days,
Well, the ultimate is golf. Golf is like you see the guys do it on Thursday or Friday where they're like, oh, look, I'm in first place. Here's a screenshot. Ultimate no. You do a screenshot, that's the first way to kill your lineup.
For sure.
I'm going to do it. Yeah. Look, I'm in first place. Yeah, that doesn't go well.
Yeah. I think Chris did that last week, actually. Because I saw his screenshot and I saw we were in the same tournament. I'm like, yeah, you're in first place, but I'm only in like 90th place, so I'm not that far behind you. And then he still cashed, and then I did not.
Golf's one of those sports too, like you said. Like, maybe Saturday morning you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm doing great, and then Saturday night you're like, oh crap, and then Sunday you're back in the money again. It's like it has its ebbs and flows for sure.
You really gotta be into it. And I watch way too much tournament golf, especially in the off season. Once football's not around, I literally watch all day on Sunday. I got the Phillies game on one side, and I got golf on the other side.
Yep.
That's all I watch. So real quick, let's just touch on basketball real quick. I don't want to touch on players or specifically, but for the people that are watching, again, Adam watching, whoever else is watching, if you want to get in the heat ratio basketball, fantasy private league, it's basically just daily fantasy on DraftKings. We just do it once a week on Fridays, and it's an invite-only league. And the payouts depend on how many people. You don't have to play every week. I've played the first 2 weeks. Whether I play this week or not, it doesn't matter. You just play the weeks you want. I think last week there was like 17 people in on Friday night, something like that. And again, I almost took a screenshot to rub it in Tony's face because I was in first place at 10:30, and then I finished out of the money, after that. No. But so if you're interested in anybody that's watching to join the Heat Ratio Fantasy Basketball League, send me a message on Facebook or Twitter. Jason a message either way. Send Tony a message on Twitter. We'll get you into that league. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of really great, tough guys to compete against, but you can really, judge where you're at. And I've learned this year in fantasy basketball, in that league and out of that league, that my strategy doesn't work anymore. So
I'm not
very
good at it either.
How do you build what's your strategy when you're building a fantasy daily lineup in basketball? Where do you start?
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not the best fantasy basketball player. I'm learning still too. One of the guys that's actually in our league, I was telling this story last night to the guys on the Firebox show. It looks like it's Chill 1976. It's actually Craig Hill 1976. So that's my boss and my friend. And 2017, he qualified for the Fantasy World Championship in Miami. So wow. He won a contest to go there. He went to Miami. He wanted me to come with him. He invited me. However, my kid was going to be born in about 2 or 3 days, so I could not go, which I was very disappointed about. But anyway,
it's a lousy excuse. Fantasy is number one, kid number two.
Well, yeah, he asked me to go, and I'm like, first kid, fantasy. I should probably stay home. Anyways, so yeah, there's good competition in that. I've been kind of picking his brain about how he does things. He starts with value every single week. Every single day. I'm sorry. He's going to go into Twitter, different sites like that, and read about who's injured, who has COVID, who's not going to play. Start your team with the value, and then decide your one superstar that you want to build on. So that's what I do. I look for typically either guards that rebound or big guys that have a lot of assists. That's where I start my lineups from usually.
It's interesting because I've kind of, so he looks at value first. So the first thing I normally do, and it has worked in the past because I've made money in fantasy basketball in previous years. Normally I look at my utility spot. I always spend my top dollar on my utility spot. I start utility. I'm like, who's the guy I want to spend the most money on tonight? And because that brings up everybody on the board. And I pick that, and then I go to value, and then I fill out the rest of my. So like tonight, I'm just going to go over my lineup tonight. And right now, I got 1, 2, 3. I got 5 guys that haven't even started their game yet tonight. But there's 72,000 people in the game I'm in. I'm in 68,000th place right now because the guys I picked haven't really done much. But I started with, when I looked at the utility, the highest rated guy I wanted to pick was Sabonis from the Pacers. Oladipo gone. Who knows? He hasn't played yet tonight, so I don't know how this lineup's going to work out. But then, so what I do is I pick my top guy, and then I go to the position, point guard, shooting guard, small forward and all, and I look for my value guys there. And then whatever's left, I spend as much as I can in the general guard and forward position. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So we do it a little bit different.
I've literally only cashed 1 out of like 20 lineups now using that philosophy.
Right. So it's definitely it's all about value, right? Gabe Vincent today, I played him at point guard. Never even heard of the guy until 2 days ago. So he played point guard today for the Heat. Scored 35 points, $4,000 or $4,100 or something on DraftKings. Like, you got to find guys like that, but low price doesn't always mean value. You got to remember that. You got to find a guy that you know is going to get 30, 35 minutes in the game. But I think your strategy actually makes a lot of sense. It's just you just got to hit on the guys. Like I started mine today with, I thought, 2 really good value plays. Both the value plays hit, but Joel Embiid got me 17 points. So that kind of sucks.
So I'm just gonna roll over my lineup. I'm gonna give you my lineup, step by step. You tell me if it was a bad decision or a good decision. It's okay to disagree with me. So obviously my utility was Sabonis. He was my top guy. I put him in my utility spot.
Love him.
I actually went in that game overall, both teams, a lot tonight. I loved Sabonis tonight, especially with Oladipo gone. The new piece is not there yet. And then I also went with my point guard as Aaron Holiday, since Oladipo wasn't gone. He hasn't obviously played yet either. I went with my shooting guard. I went with Walker from San Antonio. Game's almost over. There's a couple minutes left in the game. He was a cheapish play at 5,600. He's only got 24 points. I expected a little bit more there. That's not a really good enough value there. 5,600. You hope for more than 24 points there. Then I went Wiggins at small forward, which I don't know why, because every time I pick Wiggins, he burns me. He hasn't played yet. I went with the power forward from Toronto. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know how to say his name.
Siakam?
No. Anunoby. Anunoby.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever his name is. 5,800 as power forward. I went with Draymond Green, who's actually played surprisingly pretty well for a $5,400 price tag this year so far at center. And then went McCollum and Tucker as my guard forward combo. Where am I wrong in this thought process? That's putting me pretty much near last place right now at this point.
I feel like your thought process is good, though. I mean, you started with a stud that is probably the most consistent stud. I mean, his ceiling's not as high as, maybe Luka or some of the other guys, but I feel like his floor and his ceiling are both like around 50 points. So I really like your line.
9,500. So I thought that was a smart play there.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. So I kind of build mine similar to the way you build yours. I'll give you mine real quick. So I had Vincent, who for Miami, he had 35 points. I had Hero also for Miami, which I thought was going to be a stud. He put up 30. That's really not that good for his price. Somebody I'd never even heard of, Sumner. He plays small forward for the Pacers. 3,200. I don't know. I played him. He hasn't played yet. Siakam, Embiid, Gary Trent, Draymond, and Christian Wood. Christian Wood put up 46. So he had a pretty good game.
Wood, by the way, is an absolute stud. If you could fit him into your lineups, you should, because he is putting up numbers every single week. And now with James Harden gone, that whole offense changes, but he's still going to get major points every single night.
And he was 7,700 today. That seems like
his price is going up.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Is he a forward center or just center?
Forward center.
So, I mean, I always look to spend down at power forward and center. Am I right in thinking that or no?
I do that sometimes. I usually pay down at power forward. I pay up at center most of the time, but that's just the way I do it. Yeah.
Spending down like with James, with Wiseman and stuff like that at center. When I say spend down, I'm not talking about going to like a 3,500 or 4,000.
Right.
I'm looking in that $4,800 to $5,800 range for my center, which is still kind of low. It's just really hard with fantasy basketball because the prices of the top guys are so high compared to the mid, not even the low guys, the mid-level guys. Someone like Tobias Harris, who puts up really good numbers in and out. We got basketball or football questions here. We are a football show. Tom, what do you guys like, Buffalo or Baltimore? The snow. We did talk about this early in the show. We're staying away from fantasy-wise. We're staying away from Buffalo in that Baltimore game just because of, Josh Allen didn't play well in bad weather before. Lamar Jackson's never really played well in bad weather. We both think Buffalo wins the game, but it's a close, low-scoring game. Right, Jason?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. Jeff checking in saying just pick Embiid every day.
Yeah, that's what Tony told me yesterday.
I like to pick Joel Embiid.
That's what Tony told me yesterday. I played him and he scored 17 points. We were talking about how he was
on the fantasy firebox.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel Embiid. No, not tonight.
Pretty sure this is the first time I played him all year too. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I haven't played him once yet. Yeah, no problem, Tom. Check in. Tom, we do fantasy football here on Thursday nights. This is the end of the Thursday night show, but we'll be doing Monday nights start next week, talking golf, basketball, whatever else. mostly golf. But we're just talking a little basketball now as well. I don't know. I've had success doing basketball before, and it's really frustrating now because I feel like I've had success with this strategy. Is it too soon in the season to give up on my strategy?
I'm kind of questioning myself lately too. I'm kind of going through the same thing. So I recently have been trying to go more like almost quote unquote stars and scrubs. I feel like that is not working. So I'm probably going to switch that. I feel like basketball is one of the most predictive sports. Like LeBron James is going to be LeBron James every game. Luka's going to be Luka every game or almost every game. So I feel like playing it a little safer in basketball is smart. You don't need to take the chances that you do in football. Like you don't need to go down to the 3,000s. If you do it once. Don't do it 2-3 times, which I've been doing lately. It hasn't worked out at all. So
yeah, I try to stay away from those really, really low. I don't think I rarely ever take anybody in the 3,000s in basketball. Right. But I spend probably way too many picks on that $4,200 to $4,800 range, which those guys are just as much of a hit or miss as the guys in the 3,000. If you're going to go a whole bunch of $4,200 guys, you might as well pick a $3,000 guy and add an extra $9,000 guy to your lineup.
100%. I almost feel like you got to get one superstar. You got to hit on that superstar and then kind of stick in the mid ranges for the rest of your guys.
Yeah, no. I've also tried. I mean, I'll venture out occasionally and even just go with all like $6,000 guys. And that's just like I said, I've done so well in the past in fantasy basketball, cashing 2, 3, 4 times a week. And it's not like football. Football, me and Jason, we put 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 lineups out there, on a Sunday. But basketball, because it's every day, I don't know about you, but I only put one lineup in a day.
Yeah, I do 1 or 2 tops. Yeah.
One, unless there's a day I really like, I might throw a second lineup in there. But for the most part, it's one lineup a day for me.
You know what's an interesting thing about basketball too? So I was telling you the story about my boss who went to the World Championships. I was asking him the other day, I'm like, what tournaments do you play in? What dollar amounts do you play in? He plays like probably 95% double ups. He just thinks that he's like, I can cash in double ups every single day. I'll throw, a buck or two at a GPP, but he plays. I mean, he said, for any skill level, that double ups are the way to go. So
we talked about that earlier in the season of football. I had a lot of success with double ups in football as well this year, and they are down, especially if you're having a down season. I haven't done one double up yet in basketball this year, so maybe that's where I need to start focusing on then, because where's his strategy then? What does he do to build his lineup?
He does the same. I mean, he does pretty much the same thing we do. He looks for value first. He puts one superstar in it, and he sticks in the mid range. He's just trying to cash. I mean, he's obviously pretty good at it. This is a guy that won a contest with like 200,000 people. He got first. So he's telling me, don't waste your time on GPPs. Play double ups, and that's what he told me that he put 9 lineups in today. They were all double ups. So He makes one lineup every night too.
And puts them in all the different double up ones.
Puts them in all the contests. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the guy. We need to get your boss on this show one week for golf.
I've tried a few times. He says that the camera won't like him or something. I don't know.
We could keep his face off the. There's a way to take the face off the screen here. I'm not sure.
The dude looks like Paul Walker, so I don't know what he's worried about. But hey, whatever.
He probably just he works. Anyway, he's your boss, so we know
you're professional.
Yeah, he's a professional.
He's a high-level professional person, yes.
Yeah, anyway. All right, do you got anything else before we wrap this show up here for the night?
No, I think, actually one more point for football. Like I kind of touched on earlier, when you're making your stacks, expand them a little bit, I think, this week. I think that's the way to differentiate yourself. Don't just go quarterback, receiver on the other team. Maybe put it out a little bit more. Put 2 receivers in. Put 2 bringbacks from the other team. I think that's a way to get a little bit different in your lineups. And don't
4 guys from the same game, 5 guys from the same game.
Don't be afraid to leave a little money on the table too. If you can't figure out a way to differentiate, you don't want 9 guys that are super chalky. Leave $300 on the table. That's a good way to differentiate your lineup.
No, that's really, really good advice. Well, this has been awesome. We've been doing this now for 16, 17, 18 weeks in a row. Me and you. With a rotating guys. We had Josh, we had Chris, we had all different, Dan on this show. We'll be back. Next year is not that far away. We'll start in the August range, talking, building your fantasy draft, lineups and stuff like that. And then we'll get back into the daily fantasy stuff in September next year. But Jason, I can't thank you enough for starting this with me in this little journey this year. This has been a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. Thank you. Thank all you guys for starting this. This has been awesome. And
Yeah.
thank you, everybody that watches. Adam, all the guys that watch, Kyle, everybody that watches every single week. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. We love all the loyal watchers. We love all the random watchers that watch once. We appreciate everybody. This was just this year, starting in April. We started the All About the Birds Network. We didn't know where it was going to go. Me, Johnny, and Jeff, and Chip, and Jason, and everybody that's joined, Tom, and all the guys that have joined up. This has been a great first year. The shows don't stop. We're going to keep going with different shows. We still got our weekly show for All About the Birds. Johnny's got his draft show, which is just ramping up. We're almost at draft season here. Chip still got his Chips and Dish show on Monday nights, and we're going to start a golf show on the Heat Ratio Network starting next week. So this is just getting started. But I want to thank
Johnny and I were talking the other night too. We're going to be doing this on Tony's show as well. We were talking about possibly doing a football award show and then maybe a fantasy award show too. We kind of threw that idea around a little bit, so I think that'd be fun to kind of get us all involved. We can get people involved, listeners.
I'll drop it on this show as a little bit of a hint. We've also talked about me, Johnny. I think I mentioned it to Tony. I'm not sure. I've mentioned to a couple people doing a battle, a football battle. Well, it's basically you wouldn't be able to qualify because maybe I can use you as the host, as the game show host of an Eagles football knowledge trivia contest.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Of whose show has the more knowledgeable people on it and all. Not being an Eagles guy, I got my little Eagles encyclopedia right back here and all. You would not know the answers, from in there and all. But we got lots of great stuff going on this off season. Guess we're trying to set up and line up and stuff like that. But I can't thank you, Jason, enough. You're gold. You're great at this. We appreciate you. You ease the picture because everybody doesn't want to look at this. They'd rather look at you over there. Not
right.
this.
Yeah.
The beard really doesn't do anything for anybody. So, other than, never mind. Anyway, we'll get off of that one right there.
Anyways,
anyway, thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great season doing fantasy football. We're going to be back next week, Monday, not Thursday, 9:00, doing all the golf talk, dabbling a little basketball, maybe, depending on what the conversation is. All About the Fans, Adam. Yeah, Adam, thanks for tuning into the All About the Fans on Sunday morning last week. We're going to do another one again. I'm not sure when. We're going to try to do a different night of the week. All About the Fans, for those that are watching. I did a fan forum show. I gave the link to join the telecast to anybody that wanted to. Adam joined. Richard joined. I debated them and all their different questions and thought processes about the Eagles. That's going to keep going on. We're definitely going to do it again. I'm going to try a Friday night. I'm going to try a Saturday night. Maybe a Thursday night, now that we don't have the fantasy show on Thursday nights. We're definitely going to keep that happening for sure. Lots of great things happening on the All About the Birds Network, Heat Ratio Network, of course. Tony and the crew there, we love them. Last Out Media, got to thank them at Last Out Media, John Crichton, John Picard, and the crew there. Great stuff as always over on that site. And the Athletes Hub, they support the show and the brand a lot at Athletes Hub. And of course, you got to check out the website, aatbirds.com/shop. They have some great new designs. Me and Johnny, we were talking about some ideas. We put together some new designs. I'm going to try to find them here on my screen. Some great designs for some shirts. Right now, 15% off on all shirts right now on aatbirds.com/shop. Got one with the vet in it, Philly Skyline. Another one that looks like it's Brian Dawkins. It's not. So there's no copyright infringement there. Just so you know, it is not Brian Dawkins. Just so anybody on the Eagles watching right now that is not Brian Dawkins, it just seems like it is. But yeah, support the podcast. Support us all. Follow Jason at JSully2121. Follow me at Beard and Knowledge. Follow All About the Birds at AET Birds. Jason, this has been a blast.
It's been fun, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you. I'm going to wrap it up. I don't remember the whole tag. There's this great little music video that Chip from All About the Birds, one of the local bands. Chip's in a cover band, so he knows a lot of the bands. They did this Eagles video. So we're going to close the show with that just for all the Eagles fans and all. We do have permission from this also, Facebook, just so you know. The band gave us permission for this video.
Disclaimer.
Go Birds. Make some money. We'll see you all Monday on Heat Ratio Network at 9:00 talking golf.